Hey everyone, I am your host, Robbie Strazynski, and thanks so much for joining us on episode number 57 of CardsChat, the friendliest poker podcast in town. Today's guest is Jan Fisher, a Woman in Poker Hall of Famer. Jan is a genuine legend. Whether it was starting out as a dealer in Las Vegas, her storied tenure working with the World Poker Tour, as a part owner of the popular Card Player Cruises, or as a co-founder of the TDA and the Poker Gives charity organization. Jan has always made her mark. She is quite the player as well. Plus, whether she's right or she ain't right, her bubbly personality and one-of-a-kind sense of humor will always leave you in stitches. On today's episode, we get to know Jan a little bit better. Jan, welcome to the CardsChat podcast.
Thank you. Welcome. Happy to be here. Let's start schnittling words already.
Oh, man, I'm happy to be in your home. Well, I mean, let's start with the obvious, folks. If you're listening, you may not realize this, but if you're watching, you're surely going to see that this episode has a different look, because for the first time since starting to host the CardsChat podcast more than a year ago, I'm finally not on a Zoom call, but actually conducting the interview in person. So thank you very much for welcoming me into your lovely home.
It's an honor to have you here, and being number one on the camera is great.
Yeah, it's very cool. We're here in Las Vegas. I believe you're originally from Seattle. So let's start with what brought you here from the rainy city, and how long ago was that?
We just told people it rained all the time so they wouldn't move there. But I left Seattle shortly after I turned 21 because I've been coming to Vegas with my mother since I was 17, and she was a comp guest at RFB, room, food, beverage, the whole thing. And I got to see Vegas with all that cool stuff. And we got to go to all the shows, do whatever we wanted. We'll go get nickel and play, real slot machines and get a 50-cent thing for this, get all kinds of coupons, played the coupon books. I fell in love with it, hated the job I had in Seattle, moved down here to be a poker dealer.
So that's an interesting thing. You're saying to be a poker dealer. Why that? I'm sure you're plenty qualified to do lots of different sorts of jobs. So what about being a poker dealer appealed to you?
Well, first of all, I learned that they don't have to split tips, and that was big for me because I knew that I could be the kind of dealer, and I had fallen in love with poker.
Okay.
And dealing the other games, you have to stand up. So it was kind of a combination, but I fell in love with poker.
Okay. So a lot of people, they say, okay, I fell in love with poker. And usually that's the story we hear with the, professional players. Why not become a professional player when you fell in love with poker rather a dealer?
Because I didn't play all that well.
Oh.
Beating poker is very, very difficult. I didn't have a bankroll. I mean, I was 21 years old. And I think these young kids now who go out and that's what they're going to do from the time they're 18, 19 years old, I think they miss a lot of seeing the world. They miss a lot of growing up, and a lot of them aren't good enough. I mean, I would have gone broke for sure.
Was there ever any point where you did consider yourself to be a professional poker player?
Oh, absolutely. I played for about 4 or 5 years. As the only thing I did. I was a 1530 stud player at the Mirage, back when stud was the thing.
And back when the Mirage was the thing also. That was one of the most legendary rooms.
Oh, it was fabulous.
Sure.
It's amazing how the action has gone from room to room. Yeah. And now hopefully it's down at the Rio.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, of course, we're recording this, Jan's mentioning the Rio, the World Series of Poker is going on as we speak, actually. For some reason, we're not there. We're here in this lovely home.
Linda Johnson's down there to play the 1500 Omaha 8. She's still in line.
In line.
In line to enter. She's got another hour. The tournament started at 3. It doesn't matter because if they don't put your chips down until you get to the table, but man, I couldn't do that.
We will be talking about Linda Johnson. She was actually episode number 39 here on the CardsChat podcast. She will be mentioned a few times, I believe, during, how can you not, and when speaking with Jen as well. So when you're saying that you were a professional poker player, at what point did that happen that you sort of stopped doing dealing, and that's when you were focusing on, like, at what years more or less?
That was probably in the 90s, probably like 93, 94, about 5 years.
Okay.
And that was a struggle too.
Okay, so what made you think, okay, now's the time to go ahead and try that this will be my sole source of income?
Well,
main source of income.
I keep records, which kind of you must do if you're going to see how you're doing. If you want to call yourself a professional, you need to know that you're winning. And I was a winning player, and I was just fed up. I was up to here with dealing because of the abuse. The abuse was so bad. The house didn't back you. And so I thought, well, if I can learn to play real well, I can still be in poker. And so I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And emotionally, it was very, very difficult for me. So where that was my only income, it was very, very difficult for me because I had a bankroll, but not that much. And if it didn't work out, I was back to dealing poker.
Right. Well, we are going to start with the whole dealing thing. That's interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about your play a little bit later. And, you did mention the abuse. And, when you started out dealing, I think we're talking around, late 1970s, early 1980s. Obviously and thankfully, we've come quite a long ways since then. But maybe you can sort of give us an idea, because we shouldn't be taking it for granted that, things are much better today. What was it like being a dealer, a poker dealer in general, and specifically a female poker dealer during those years?
It was very tough. The house never backed you. I was called every name in the book, even the C word. I had one player who told me, "I hope your mother gets cancer and dies."
Oh
now,
my God.
how do you say that to somebody? And at the time, my mother was in the hospital. He didn't know that, but I'm 25 years old, 30 years old, and I get that. I have a friend who had a cigarette put out on her arm. I just reached over and burned her.
Oh.
I know someone else who was.
It sounds like it's almost made up. Like, how could that actually?
I know it's hard to. Wow. I know another dealer a player urinated on her leg under the table. I mean,
wow.
It was horrible. I mean, I could tell you stories all day about how bad it was, and that was just something I didn't want to be around. In today's card rooms, they've got very strict lines about what's okay and what's not okay.
Right.
And it's wonderful. It's wonderful because it's nice to go in there now.
Right. Oh my God. I can't even imagine. I'm sure a lot of folks are listening to these stories like, how could that possibly be real? Was there any sort of thing that happened, like an incident, or I don't know, some sort of like awareness that people just came to at some point that this kind of stuff stopped, or was it more of a gradual thing over the years that dealers started getting treated right?
It was really with the WSOP when it was down at Binion's. Linda Johnson owned Card Player Magazine, and she had the power of the pen. And she talked to the management down there about poker's dirty little secret, all this abuse. People didn't play. They're like, oh God, how fun is that? And so she told them, anyway, that's when they got a penalty system and they started enforcing rules in the tournaments. And gradually it came to the cash games too. And it's nice because any card room manager who's worth his salt, her salt, whatever, needs to take care of the players and back them.
Right. And finally that happened. So yeah, well, that's really good. And like, it was kind of like an overnight thing that things did change. Or?
Yeah, but the rules changed overnight. The behavior, it took a little while, but people knew. People knew that it's no longer open season on dealers.
Well, that's good. Thank God. But wow, to be able to tell those stories.
I started dealing in 77, so that was in the late 70s.
And it was like a funny name, the Silver Slipper or something.
Yeah, that was one of the jobs I had. I loved working there. Oh my God, Kenny Kerr was the entertainer there. He was he had a boy. The show was Boylesque. Okay. And it was a drag show, but it was fabulous. And they had the Silver Slipper going around on the marquee, and Boylesque. They had Wednesday Boxing Day, and it was a great job. I loved working there.
So for those of us in the audience and me who weren't around at the time, where sort of in modern day Las Vegas would that place have been located?
Okay, wait. We were just north of the Stardust.
Okay.
So we were kind of across from where that church is.
Okay.
That big church on Desert Inn. Like Desert Inn would run right into it.
Okay, cool.
But it was, pretty much every place I worked has been torn down.
Oh gosh. Well, thankfully, this place has not been torn down. This is a beautiful, lovely home, and it's one that you share with your longtime BFF, Linda Johnson. Yes. You have mentioned. You two have known each other for the better part of 4 decades, I believe, which is just any sort of blessing to know anyone for that long and have a great relationship with them. You both came out to Las Vegas at a time when women in our industry were extremely few and far between. Is that sort of how you first met and connected, or was it just sort of by chance, or how did that happen?
I first met Linda. I knew who she was. Everybody knew who she was, but I first met her when I was dealing at the Golden Nugget, because very commonly she and I were the only 2 women in the room, and if you're in a room with men and there's one other woman, you kind of gravitate towards them.
Sure.
And we just got to be friends, and then I went to work at Card Player Magazine for a while. We were doing the cruises, and I was already doing the cruises when she bought the business, and we just went from there, and we just became BFFs.
It was just sort of like a natural progression.
I mean, she's my person, and I'm her person. People think that we are a couple. We're not a couple, but
You're a couple of wonderful people, though.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's for sure.
Thank you.
Well, you did say, and eventually, like you said, you started at the Card Player Cruises, and you did work your way up, and eventually became a partner in that business. And I think you're still involved in the business a little bit today.
Absolutely. Linda and I became only the sole owners of the business, and we realized that we weren't really working it too well. We were kind of running it as a hobby. So we decided to get some partners who wanted to do the work and would make something of it. And Mark and Tina Napolitano kind of fell on our laps. We were at dinner with them one night. They were semi-retired, but one of them had said, I think we still have one business left in us. And my ears perked up. And on the way home, I told Linda, I said, do you hear what they said? And the rest is history. They're the majority owners now. Linda and I have a piece. And it's a really good business now. I mean, it's a business now that had the pandemic not come.
Sure.
We had just had a record cruise in January, right before the pandemic. So hopefully we can pick up that momentum.
What do you love about poker cruising? So many of us who love the game have never been on a poker cruise before. So I'm just like, what's different, unique, and special about that?
It's just a regular cruise. It's, it's any cruise that goes out. We have chartered before, but we haven't chartered in a long time. But it's, you get all your meals, you get your bed made twice a day. You get,
That's fun.
You get everything. Everything is clean. There's shows. You never have to leave the ship if you don't want to. The ports are great. We always leave the ship, but there's swimming pools and bars. I mean, it's just a city on the water. It's cruising is amazing, and we have poker too.
Oh, so if I understand correctly, like if someone happens to find themselves on, again, his Royal Caribbean that you cruise with, you can't just walk into the poker room. You have to register through Cards Player Cruises.
You have to book your cruise through us.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, I know that you recently went on a cruise. It wasn't a poker cruise, but the first time in, I guess, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So what was that like to finally get back on the boat? And what, perhaps did you miss the most?
Obviously, I missed the poker room, but 60 people went with us.
That's amazing.
Through
That's
Card
a great
Player.
group.
And what was fun is most of them were people we knew, and we had time to get to know them better. We had time to meet our new people. We still had our parties and our silly, going away, thank you for coming thing. But it's just a regular cruise with poker. And I missed the poker the most, I guess, because everything else was there.
And I think your first poker cruise is in November.
Yeah, I think November 2nd or 3rd, something like that.
Okay.
So, and we can have poker then, at least as far as we know right now.
Nice. And where is it going to be to? And here's your chance
don't
to
ask me
plug
that.
it. Oh, you don't know?
I know it's the Caribbean, but
okay, that's
and
fine.
the thing is, I would tell you that it's it's the private island, it's Cozumel, and it's Roatan.
Okay.
But they keep changing. I'm going on a cruise the end of this month, just a 4-day cruise to take a friend, and we were supposed to go to Cozumel. Well, they've already changed it to the private island. So until we get on the ship, I know it's the Caribbean.
Okay.
But it'll probably change.
That's cool. I guess cardplayercruises.com is where you go for that information.
Please.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, Jan at cardplayercruises.com. I'll get right back to you.
Excellent. Very cool. And confirmed. She always does get right back to me when I email her and give her a call. Okay. So back to you and Linda. I believe that you two sort of started working at the World Poker Tour around the same time as well. And you were the statistician?
I was.
I guess.
That was just a fancy name for scorekeeper.
Scorekeeper.
I mean,
okay.
I had a sheet and I had to make every action that happened at the table: call, fold, raise, how much, what time the hand started to the second.
Right.
Had a camera that zoomed on the flop, so I had to take care of that.
Right.
It was the worst job in the world. It was horrible. I hated it, but I got a lot of good opportunities. And after about 3 years, I finally got them to pay me a little bit. Don't worry, Linda made big bucks. I got nothing. I paid my own ticket to get to some of the places where I helped them out. But Linda and Steve Lipscomb are the ones who really started the World Poker Tour. And it was amazing how they, when Lyle Berman told them, okay, I'll fund it, but this has to be a home run opportunity.
Right.
I don't want to take $1 million and get $2 million. He says, I want to invest $1 million and get 100.
Right.
And so he funded it, he started it, and rest is history.
It was like 20 years now, the World Poker Tour.
It could be. I don't know. I worked there for the first 6 seasons. And it could be 20 seasons. That sounds about right.
So statistician, you're talking, so this 20 years is about like the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s that you were working there. This is before social media. And, even 20 years ago, the technology then wasn't necessarily as advanced as today. So if you're, like you said, scorekeeper, what does that practically mean? Did you have a team with you, or how did it work?
Well, it was funny because it was so old school then.
Right.
It was like here's what we need you to do. And I'm like, okay, how do I do it? They're like, we don't know. We haven't done it before. You'll figure it out. So I just had a paper and I made little shortcuts for me. And I finally, after a couple times, had exactly what I needed. And then they liked it. So they copied those papers. It was all handwritten, as the action happened. And if anybody said anything when I was supposed to be getting up, and he bets 50,000, and then somebody said something, I'm like, well, how much was the bet?
Right.
So it was like, don't talk to me. It was then I'd have people like throwing stuff at me just to try to throw me off of what I was doing. I'm like,
on purpose?
On purpose. They were my friends. They were just messing with me.
Oh my gosh. I know those first few years of the WPT, as legendary as they were, for us the fans when we were watching it on TV. I mean, there was a lot of kind of like hijinks, if I recall correctly, that happened off camera. And sometimes you said, you're just flying by the seat of your pants, and you're just trying to figure things out as you go because it had never been done before. Any particular memories perhaps sort of stand out to you that you want to share with us?
Well, there were a lot of things done off camera, and there were a lot of pranks that we played on camera.
Oh, on camera.
On camera, yeah. Okay. I mean, but there were things that we just played among ourselves, kind of. But we started one competition with Mike Sexton, who we missed dearly. It was Mike and Linda and me. We played this game where I would have 10 random words. I would take the most random of words I could. It would be like chair, raid, toaster oven, things just totally 10 words, and Linda had to work them into what she said.
Oh, while she was doing the commentating.
Like
the table announcing.
Right. It's like, well, John had a bagel that he put in the toaster oven this morning. I mean, he just made crap up. It was awesome. Well, finally, Mike started saying, what is she doing?
Because he wasn't aware.
He wasn't aware. And so then we told him, and he thought that was great. Well, then the camera people heard what we were doing. And so then they wanted to put in 10 words or to know the 10 words. And we were betting on it. I mean, it was fun. We did stuff like that. A lot of hijinks.
That is unbelievable. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Oh God, those early years of WPT.
We were a family. We definitely were a family. It was the same people every time for 6 years. And it was great. Got very, very close to many people.
I mean, I wasn't obviously involved back then, but I've met a lot of the folks at WPT from Adam Pliska on down, and that family vibe still stays, it rings true.
Oh, and that's good to hear.
Whether you work for the company or you're just even sort of exposed to it, that is just sort of a culture that is, I think, just helps make the WPT so special.
Yeah, I think so.
That's really cool.
But yeah, it was funny because I would be at an event and couldn't wait till it came on TV so I could see if I saw myself in it. Because I was in a lot of shots, but I was way up on a bleacher thing on a big platform in black. And so one time, I think it was, I don't even remember who it was. Somebody was on the front page and you could actually see me. It looked like I was sitting on his shoulder.
Oh, right.
That was funny. That was John DeWanda.
Yeah. John DeWanda. Okay.
Nice, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. Nice shout out. Have you ever, after you left the company, had you played in any WPTs since then?
The only WPT event I played in is one that was a free roll. I'm sorry, a couple that were free roll. Okay. I played on the PPT for the one season that they had it.
Oh, right. And professional poker team. Right.
Yeah, that died early. I was actually Linda's counterpart on that. I was a live studio announcer, but and then I've played in the free rolls that they've had. In fact, I remember one hand I played with Norm McDonald, who just passed away. It was the first hand of the event. We had 30,000 in chips. The blinds were 50 and 100. So it's fold, he gets to the north, and he shoves all 30,000.
Right.
Well, Diego was behind him and had 2 aces and called. He had 2 queens. Bye-bye. I mean, literally, it literally was the first hand. So.
I met Norm McDonald once, and he had this great saying, Texas Hold'em, it's a game that takes 5 minutes to learn, but 10 minutes to master.
Yeah, lifetime for most of them, but
sorry,
he wasn't there. He wasn't there 10 minutes, so he hadn't mastered it yet.
Sorry, I butchered that joke, but R.I.P. Norm, one of a kind. One of the other things that you did with Linda, along with Dave Lamb and Matt Savage, is you helped co-found the TDA, the Tournament Directors Association, back in 2001. And somewhat, again, to a little bit of a lesser degree, you still remain involved in that again today.
Yeah, but I don't want to be.
Okay.
It's just that we have the connection. So when we have a meeting, we're the ones who are able to get the deal, get the room and the coffee, and we go as observants.
Okay. So it's important to be observant.
Yes.
We all know that, right?
Especially on Friday.
Yeah, especially on Friday before the 7th. Well, the thing is, you had the WPT stuff going on. You had the card player cruises stuff going on. Why did you feel at the time that it was important for you to lend your voice to the TDA and be involved when it first started out?
Well, because people got tired of going card room to card room, and the rules were different. Like here they play dead button, here they play moving button, stuff like that. If you miss a blind, they have third man walking, all these things. So we tried to systematize and get rules organized for cash games. That's where we started. And we couldn't even get the card rooms to agree on the button, whether it be dead button or moving button.
And when you say we, this was already sort of like a pre-TDA group?
No, yeah, well, it was just the 4 of us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because Dave was the tournament director extraordinaire back then. Then it became Matt, who, and Linda and I kind of stepped back. But the 4 of us know poker. We enjoy poker. We love poker. And since we couldn't get it organized for live cash games, we said, okay, well, we'll try to get some rules for tournaments. Well, the first year we had a meeting with, we got people to come, and I don't know, there were probably 20 people there maybe.
Okay.
And we got 14 rules. But the rules were like, well, the button will move in a clockwise manner.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
very basic.
Players will not throw cards. I mean, it was very, very basic. And we thought, well, we'll try. If you went to the TDA meetings now, it fills a conference room.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's so big, but
it's like a whole convention.
Yeah, it's a whole convention. It's two full days
Wow.
with panels and speakers and Phil Donahue running around and stuff.
Right.
But it's great because they've got rules and and as long as you can remember all 800 rules now, it's a long way from 14.
Right. But, and I remember, I think we had Matt Savage on. I think he was episode number 49. I don't have my notes with me, but when I asked him also of like, hey, Matt, this TDA has been going on for like 20 years. Don't you guys think at this point you kind of know the rules? And he said, well, when you got that many thousands of people together, it's still important to meet every couple of years.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the funny thing is the TDA actually sort of took place on the top of a mountain in Costa Rica, because that's where we were talking about. That's also the same trip where Linda and Steve Lipson.
Oh, was that time?
Yeah.
Wow, what a magical time.
Yeah. And then we have a picture of the 4 of us, Linda, Matt, Dave, and me doing, like making a human pyramid. And why we did it, I have no idea. We're out in this grass field, and we did. It was funny.
Good memories to have.
We have a picture somewhere. I should probably look for it. It's pretty funny.
Gosh. All right, so let's talk Jan Fisher, the poker player. What's your favorite game?
Omaha 8.
Why?
I think that Omaha 8 is a game where bad players get punished sooner. I don't care about that. I know that good players get rewarded sooner. No limit. There are ways that a bad player can neutralize somebody, and you can take the shove anytime and make it really difficult.
Okay.
Whereas Omaha, you can't. It's only going to cost you so much money, and it's just a game where bad players are really bad.
Interesting. So why a flop game rather than, let's say stud 8 or better, something like that?
Well, stud 8 or better would be great, but the only time they play stud 8 or better is during the World Series.
Okay.
It's just there's no stud in town.
Right. So you do like stud 8, but you just can't find a good game.
Yeah, sometimes the Omaha game will be Omaha and stud 8.
Right, like one round.
And that'd be fine. That's fine.
Okay, very cool. So how about tournaments or cash games?
Cash. Much prefer cash.
That was very quick.
Yeah. I have a bad back, and I need to be able to get up when I need to get up. I need to walk when I need to walk, and I also don't like the heartache. For me, it's a lot of heartache to work so well to make all the right decisions, and they're all in the limit tournaments anyway, and get so close, and then think, oh, I'm doing great, and then boom, one hand, it's over.
Oh yeah,
you're done. And
we know the feeling.
Yeah, and that I don't like that.
Okay.
And there's so many things I don't like about tournaments.
Okay.
That I've decided, why am I playing in them?
Fair
now
enough.
I play in events where I'm invited, obviously, or if I'm if I'm sponsoring something, I do play when I'm supposed to play, but to play the big events at WSOP, especially when there's a 4-hour line, it's just I'd rather take that $1,500 and play it, a high limit Omaha game.
Nice. Okay, makes sense. Good reasoning and rationale there. One of the questions we always love to ask our interviewees here at the CardsChat podcast: who is the friend? You have to pick one. Who is the friendliest player you've ever competed against at the table? You can take a minute. We'll give you a time check.
Yeah, man, that's a hard one. Who's the friendliest?
We'll play the Jeopardy music in the background.
Wow. I guess you should have given me that question a long time ago.
Oh gosh.
Who is the friendliest?
Or you can name
Yeah.
more than one. It's okay.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to figure someone who's friendly. Even though, I mean, it's like the people in our home game, they're all friendly, but in the casinos, man, let me think on that.
Okay,
I'll have to come back to
we'll
that,
circle back. Okay, we'll circle back to it. One of the, I guess you can't just sort of, okay, let's start like this. During the introduction, when I just first, mentioned this is Jan Fisher, I mentioned that you are a member of the Women in Poker Hall of Fame. I believe you were inducted in 2009.
That sounds about right.
That is obviously an honor that kind of like cements a person's legacy. So, and I'm not being facetious, like, hey, you're in the Hall of Fame of anything, like that's a very big deal.
It's a big honor.
It's a very big deal. So what does it mean to you to sort of carry that distinction and say, I'm a woman in poker Hall of Fame?
I guess it makes me happy that I was recognized. I don't really like bells and whistles, but it was really nice, to have people obviously like me and think I had done something for the community. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's good. Women Poker Hall of Fame, I believe they try to induct a new class every couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's every other year now.
Right. And so, for the women out there, what do you think, what's the stuff that it takes to, obviously got to be involved for a long time, a good, decade or more to be considered, but what is the stuff that, kind of like I know the World Series of Poker, like with the Poker Hall of Fame, you've got an official list of criteria. I don't know that the Women in Poker Hall of Fame does, but when comes time to sort of consider nominees, what are you sort of looking for and say, okay, this is Women in Poker Hall of Fame material?
Right. Well, the things you have to be, I believe you have to be 40. It could be 35, but I think it's 40. And you have to be, an ethical person. You have to have a good reputation at the table. And it doesn't always work this way, but in my opinion, you also should have given back. And mostly there are people who give back. We're not looking for people who won the most tournaments and won the most money. We're looking for people who are part of the community, the poker community,
right,
and who want to grow it and who act right, which gives them the opportunity to grow.
I like it. Very good.
But yeah, it's just the longevity and with the age, whatever it is.
Right. Okay. Cool. Oh, I got one more question before we move into the community questions from people in the CardsChat forums who've submitted. And I want to get this right, so I'm just going to read it straight off screen. So poker's come a long way as an industry from back when you first became involved. There's a lot more high-profile players as well as industry personalities in prominent positions than ever before. And yet, there's still so much more potential to grow the women's game further. So what sort of developments, on a tangible level would you like to see so that we could try to make that happen?
As much as the behavior has improved, it still has a way to go. And if the behavior improved, the ladies will come. It's so funny because men want more ladies in the card room, but a lot of them do everything they can to make it not fun. And so that's really, in my opinion, the only thing that would get more women in.
Wow.
Because there's women, and then there's a lot of women's tournaments, which pisses some people off. Like, we can't have a men's tournament. Well, actually, yeah, you could have a men's tournament. But when ladies have a tournament and the guys dress up and enter the tournament because they think it's, whatever, and they make a mockery of it, that's horrible. Now, in Nevada, they found a way around that. They make it 10 times the buy-in for a man.
Right.
And I know that one guy actually did that. I'm thinking, man, for $1,000 buy-in ladies tournament, you spent $10,000 and you are out in level 3. Nah. Yeah.
I know we had, I believe it was episode number 50, Lupe Soto, who had founded the Women's Poker Association and so many other great organizations, talked all about that sort of stuff. So, folks, after you listen to this episode and watch it, please, by all means, go ahead and listen to Lupe and the other 56 episodes that we've got here on the podcast.
Yeah, there's no poker right now in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
nothing to do.
Oh, but these are evergreen. You can listen to them a year from now, hopefully. Yeah. So, those were my questions.
Okay.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed, reminiscing a little bit. Some of that stuff you told me before, and some other interesting nuggets. So that was pretty cool. And like the golden nugget.
Yeah, that's where a lot of that abuse happens.
I had to get that one in there. All right. So in this segment of the show, we turn to you guys, our CardsChat community, to see what questions you wanted to ask our guests. We have a dedicated thread in the CardsChat forums for this. So as we announce who our guests are going to be, please be sure to send in your questions. Our first question comes to us from KLT Womi. I'm not trying to pronounce that. Thank you so much. I believe this is the first time you've ever submitted a question, and I think you're new to the CardsChat forum. So thank you very much, sir, for sending this one in. And she wants to know, Jan, what is your favorite memory or story from working for the World Poker Tour?
Well, I have one story that involves a very well-known actor.
Okay.
I don't want to use his name because it kind of might be insulting.
Okay.
But he comes in and I'm up doing my stats, and he says, "Hey, Jan, he says, you might want to tell Linda I'm here." And he's like fidgety and I'm going to be sitting right there. And he's like going to come unglued. Mm-hmm. So I'm standing behind the thing that supports the license up, and I'm telling Linda this way, mm-hmm. and she keeps going, oh, and I'm going this. And finally, she's like, "Well, I know, even though I'm on the stage now, I need to kind of meander over there and find out what's wrong." Uh-huh. And I told her, without mentioning his name, he's sitting right there. You really should, introduce him. Uh-huh. So on the next break, she says, "Look, an Academy Award winner has just entered." And so now he stands up, takes this big bow, and as soon as the camera's off him, he's out the door. I mean, it was just, it's been a
wow.
I mean, it probably happened 18 years ago, but it was funny because I was like, "Dude, you need to stop drinking coffee or something," because he was all hyper and crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was funny.
That is certainly a story. Well,
that's one of my good stories.
One of them. Well, thank you very much, KLT Wellby, for asking that question.
Grab a water.
Sure, no problem. We'll pause right here. Just one moment. No, it's all good. One moment.
Yum.
So we're back now. Jan has got her water. So thank you very much again, KLT Womi, for that great question. And please continue to submit some great questions for our interviewees. Acid Burn FX, always, isn't that a great name?
Yeah, I love it, but the questions are hard.
Oh, I'm supposed to ask you. Okay, we'll read them. So what is one thing you want to change about yourself?
Be more patient.
Oh, that's an interesting, not an answer I expected.
And I don't mean just at the poker table. I mean in life. I tend to get annoyed and irritated very quickly.
Fooled me.
Well, I try not to.
Okay, wow. Okay.
I try. Yeah, and actually I probably would try to be a little bit less sarcastic.
Okay. Now, that one I've heard a little bit of sarcasm once in a while.
Do you think?
A little bit.
Like right there.
In the next question from Acid Burn FX, in which moment in your life did you feel most alive?
Probably when I was about 18 or 19 and doing real bad things.
Okay.
Because they were fun and I felt alive.
Okay.
And I got to stay alive after doing them. So that was kind of nice too.
Okay. I think we can leave it at that. That's a really good question and an awesome answer. Last question from Acid Burn FX. If a genie granted you 3 wishes right now, what would you wish for and why?
Wow. Well, number one is something I would wish for, but I don't know if I would like Linda to get healthier. I would like Linda Johnson to get a lot healthier. She needs to get healthy.
Okay.
And 3 wishes, 2 more. I'd like to be a better poker player. 3 wishes. I really don't want for anything.
You're supposed to wish more wishes. That's what you're supposed to.
But I can't fill 3.
That's beautiful.
But I'll take 3. I'll take unlimited wishes for the rest of my life.
There you go. That's a great attitude. I love that. Crystals, thank you very much. Crystals also sends in questions regularly. Jan, back in your early dealing days, what was the craziest thing you saw at a poker table? Crystals wants to know.
Well, I saw a player put Coke on the rail and snort a line.
Not the drinking kind.
Not the drinking kind, the cocaine kind. And that was one of the craziest things I ever saw.
Is that the kind of thing that you kind of like call a floor man, or just it was a different time?
No, it was a different time.
Wow.
I mean, it would never happen now. Yeah, but this was in the 70s, and I was kind of like impressed that this guy had the balls to do it. But, he was in a game, big high limit game, and nobody was going to say anything.
How about that?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you were the statistician for the World Poker Tour. Crystals wants to know, what is the oddest and most fascinating poker stat you've ever come across?
Wow.
Great questions, guys. Thank you so much.
That's a tough question. Probably, I mean, I don't know that this exactly answers the question, but when I was doing the stats for the WPT, there were times when it would be like 217 hands, and there were times when it would be 40 hands. And I think that was a pretty weird stat. And these are all 6-handed tables,
right?
And it's funny because when you see it on TV with 17 hands in 2 hours, like I say, there might have been 217 hands, but it just, sometimes we'd be done in 2 hours and it was like great. Other times we wouldn't be done until 3 or 4 in the morning.
And you just never know.
Yeah, and you had never know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting stat indeed. Antonis 32123, thank you very much. You got a few questions here to sort of end us off. Jan, can you talk a little bit? I mentioned in the introduction, I didn't even ask any. Oh man, thank you very much for putting this one out there, Antonis. Can you talk about pokergives.org and why that organization is special and important to you? And moreover, what initiatives do funds donated to Poker Gives help support?
Wow. Well, Poker Gives, we started Poker Gives. It was Linda, Lupe, and somebody else. Anyway,
Mike Sexton?
Yes, it
Okay,
was. Thank
there
you.
we go.
I have a sight out of mind.
Research.
Uh,
Oh, we
man.
love you, Mike.
Oh,
We love
God,
you.
I
He would have
miss-
laughed at that, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
I miss Mike. I
Okay.
miss Mike a lot. But Poker Gives was started to help players give back, even $20 at a time, $10 at a time, $1 at a time. And we tried to implore on people that $20, $10, $5 makes a difference.
Mhm.
And so we started having tournaments around town where the buy-in would be cut, be like, if it was a $40 buy-in, 20 of that would go to Poker Gives.
Beautiful.
It was, except we kept going to the same well. We hadn't gotten word out, and we kept going to our friends saying, "Hey, we're having a tournament Tuesday at 2. You want to play?" And they're like, "I'll play," but they do it anyway. And now they're each putting out $40 or $60 every, whenever, and people can't afford that. So
Right.
then we started getting some donations, and then we realized we weren't really doing well by it, so we turned it all over to Lupe. And
Okay.
Lupe now runs it,
Right.
and it's thriving. I mean, it's wonderful. 100% of the money that is given to Poker Gives gets to where it is needed.
It's beautiful.
I can't tell you specifically because the need changes. I know that on Monday nights, a bunch of us go down to where a lot of homeless people are, and we set up just a bunch of tables and feed them all. And I know that Poker Gives pays for some of that. I know they donated something to like a kid in a wheelchair who needed a better wheelchair and bought it for him. It was the son of somebody, who we knew. I don't remember now who it was, but it's something I'm really proud of. And it took a little while for it to take legs, but it finally did.
That's a beautiful thing. I always I'm big on poker's power for giving, and obviously, Poker Gives is a great name. And this thing, it's not just this special event, that special event. You take every single Monday night, they're out there, and I've seen some of the videos, even before
when
Christmas.
It's 120 degrees, we're out there, and we're there when it's 30 degrees.
Right, and even then before Christmas as well, whatever, it's like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah, we do that on Christmas morning. We go down, we borrow the sidewalk down there by the Super Pond, where Las Vegas Boulevard and Main Street meet, and people just come, and it's like the sun's not even up yet. We get there about 4:35. We've been there when it's been really cold. I mean, it's been horrible. But you look at these people who were helping out, and they're out in the cold, or they're out in the heat, and they don't even, they don't even have a coat to wear. It's like, can I have a coat? It's one year doing the Christmas thing. We were helping people out, and somebody who had just come with us for the first time kind of became a personal shopper for people. And this guy said, "I need a coat." She said, "Okay, well, come with me. I'm gonna find it." Because stuff was everywhere. We didn't have it organized. And she couldn't find something for him. And finally she said, "Well, what kind of coat do you want?" He said, "Well, kind of like the coat you're wearing." Well, she took off her coat
No kidding.
and gave it to him.
Wow.
And I'll never forget. It was Susie McBain, for those of you who and she's since left town. I think she's living in Michigan. She got married. She's happy. I love her to death. I was writing for the magazine at the time, and I wrote a column called "The Shirt Off My Back."
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was a coat, and it was cold down there, and then she didn't have a coat. But
it's a very special organization. Pokergives.org if you want to go ahead and donate and learn a little bit more about it. 2 more questions, Jan, before we wrap it up. Can you describe to us, this is again from Antonis 32123, a typical card player cruise? What is the everyday routine? Do you run cash games or tournaments every day, or is it just one big tournament taking place throughout the whole cruise, like the riverboat gambling movie Maverick? Shout out to James Garner, Mel Gibson, and Jodie Foster.
I could have gotten to this.
Yeah.
A typical card player cruise. First of all, card player cruise is very near and dear to me. We've been doing it we would have had our 20th year anniversary if pandemic hadn't occurred. But a typical cruise is we set up a Las Vegas poker room with a number of number of tables that make sense for the number of bookings that we got. But we've done as many as 25 tables. Set it up in a conference room. You have to be from our group, have to be booking with us to go in the card room. And we have cash and tournaments all day, every day. The only time we're closed is when we're in port or at night when all the games go down. We might play till 11 o'clock. We might play till 3 or 4 o'clock. We've played all night a few times, but it's just, we have a lot of 1 to 3 games and 2 to 5 games. We also usually play Omaha 4-8 or 10-20. Yay, Omaha. We also have a beginner's game. Linda and I give lessons to absolute beginners who like, this is the button, this is a chip. I mean, very, very basic. But then we started like a 2-4 or a 3-6 game for them. And they play for the rest of the cruise. We have the lessons the first day, and they play for the rest of the time. And they're always the same nucleus who plays.
That's wonderful.
And I always call it check and giggle poker because they're always laughing. And the dealer has fun there. And they just keep kind of pushing the same $4 back and forth. But they love it. And they, and a lot of them have become players, and playing the other game. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, part of me is like, my God, after all these years playing and involved, like you still have the patience to teach these people, but at the same time, that's exactly how you get new people into the game.
Absolutely. If you're nice to the people who come in, back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s, the card rooms would employ somebody called the brush. And the brushman is what it was called, kind of helped run the card room. Basically, his job was to be at the rail. And walk back and forth and talk to anybody who came over.
Oh, just like sort of a greeting.
Yes, and that's what's gone. And that if I had a poker room, that's what I would have. I'd have someone to see everybody who comes in. Hi, how you doing? Do you want to play some poker? Have you played poker before? Do you want me to tell you about the game? Things like that to welcome people. And it worked. It was pretty good.
Interesting.
I already forgot the next question.
Well, it's the last question, so we'll remind you.
What is the everyday routine?
No, it's can you share with us any special memories from these card player cruises, any special poker games, events, or incidents that you liked and still remember and want to share with us?
Wow, everything is so cool. We did some charters back in around 90, I guess, a long time ago, of Holland America ships, and that's when we had the $1 million, the Party Poker Million.
Oh, yeah.
And we had crazy things going on, but we had the whole ship, so everybody on the ship was with our group.
That's incredible. And it was like hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah. I think we had over 1,000. We had like 1,200. I mean, it was amazing.
Different times.
Yeah. My goodness. Then the first year the Party Poker Million had the $1 million guarantee.
Right.
And unfortunately, we only got 60 players. And Card Player Cruises does what they say they're going to do, and we had to pay the other $400,000, and it just about sank us. I mean, it just about put us out of business. But we rebounded. The Party Poker Million grew hugely. We did it again on a cruise, and it was really good.
Wow.
Yeah, the year that we didn't make the guarantee, we didn't have the whole ship. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in the WPT.
Wow. Amazing stuff. Great questions and great answers. Guys, thank you very much for sending in your questions for Jan Fisher. And of course, a friendly reminder to everyone out there in the CardsChat community, we'd love to see you submit your questions for our future podcast guests in the dedicated thread on the forums. Please be sure to give us a good review on iTunes and spread the word via social media. If you like the show. If you didn't like the show, then just, don't spread the word anywhere at all. Jan, before we let you go, anything else you'd like to tell our listeners and people watching here on CardsChat?
Well, going back to the question about the friendliest, I did come up with Maria Ho.
Oh, okay, there we go. We came back to it. Maria Ho, sure.
And Daniel, and all the big players who are the nice ones.
Yeah.
And even the not nice ones, they're usually just quiet. Ellie Lesra. Oh my God, yeah.
I know we had Maria and Ellie on the show. Go ahead and look through the catalog. Those are some great shows.
Oh, I bet they are. They are. Yeah, so those would be some of the people who I think are the most friendly.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you again so much, Jan. Always a pleasure. And thank you all for tuning in once again to another episode of the CardsChat podcast. I'm Robbie Strazynski. You can find me and follow me on Twitter at CardPlayerLife. I wish you all a wonderful day.
Thank you.